There was a time when luxury didn't have brightly lit display cases or waiting lists. A time when prestige wasn't measured by oversized logos or prices that make you take a deep breath before paying. Hello, people of the internet. Welcome to a new video. Many of the brands we now associate with power, status, and exclusivity were born, curiously, on the opposite side of glamour, in small workshops with affordable prices and everyday customers. How do you go from selling cheaply to selling desire? And more unsettling still, at what moment does an object stop being merely useful and become a symbol? It almost always starts the same way, with a specific need.
Number 1. Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton wasn't born to show off in first-class airport lounges, but to solve a very practical 19th century problem: sturdy trunks that wouldn't warp during train and ship travel. While other craftsmen kept making domed, awkward chests, Vuitton designed a flat, stackable, surprisingly functional one. It was so logical it seemed obvious, and precisely for that reason, it succeeded. Who would have thought that this obsession with utility would end up becoming one of the ultimate symbols of global luxury? Number 2. Hermès. Something similar happened with Hermès, although its origins smell more like a stable than French perfume. Hermès made harnesses and horse accessories, robust pieces built to last, not to impress. Their clients weren't looking for status, they wanted reliability. Years later, when horses stopped ruling the streets, the brand did something brilliant. It transferred that same obsessive quality to leather, to bags, to everyday objects. Luxury in this case didn't appear overnight, it simply changed context. What if true luxury isn't the price, but the patience with which something is made? Number 3. Gucci. Then there's the story of Gucci, which started out selling leather goods very inspired, by others. There was no pretense of greatness, just a desire to sell well to tourists who wanted to take something Italian home. The irony is delicious. Decades later, Gucci would be copied endlessly, becoming an absolute reference for elegant excess. From a modest shop to a global icon, as if that early boldness had been a dress rehearsal. How many brands considered cheap today are unknowingly rehearsing their future empire? Number 4. Rolex. Not all stories begin in Europe. Rolex started as a relatively accessible watch brand, focused on precision and durability. No red carpets, its advertising spoke of divers, explorers, and people who needed a watch that wouldn't fail. Prestige arrived when the product kept its promise again and again. Rolex didn't shout, "I am luxury." It simply survived where others failed, and that, curiously, was enough to elevate it to myth. Can reliability become desire? It seems so.
Number 5. Prada. There's also Prada, which for years was a discreet shop selling functional leather goods with no aspirations of scandal or runway drama. Nothing in its early DNA suggested extravagance. Yet, when intelligent minimalism became a trend, Prada was already there, waiting. It didn't need to reinvent itself, it just needed to be seen. Like those old books no one opens until someone recommends them. How many gems go unnoticed simply because it's not their moment yet? What's fascinating about all these stories isn't just the change in price, but the change in perception. An object doesn't become expensive only because it improves, but because the story around it grows more powerful. The same leather, the same metal, the same stitching, now accompanied by silence, scarcity, and anticipation. Luxury, in the end, doesn't shout, it whispers. And in that whisper, the consumer projects dreams, success, belonging. Are we paying for the object or for the story we tell ourselves when we use it?
Here comes the uncomfortable question. If these brands were once accessible, at what point did they stop being so? Perhaps when they understood that not everyone should have them, or when they discovered that desire grows in direct proportion to how hard something is to obtain. High prices don't just cover costs, they filter audiences, create distance, build aura. Luxury doesn't exclude out of cruelty, but out of strategy. And let's be honest, because it works. The greatest irony is that many young brands today dream of democratizing luxury, without realizing that many of the great houses have already walked that path, but in the opposite direction. They started open, practical, almost humble, and ended by locking the door with a golden key.
not because they betrayed their essence, but because they understood it too well. Luxury isn't born expensive. It becomes expensive when the world decides to look at it with different eyes. In the end, these stories leave us with a strange feeling, somewhere between inspiration and skepticism. If luxury can emerge from the everyday, then value isn't always where we think it is. Maybe today we're walking right past the next great brand, thinking it's too simple, too common, too cheap. And perhaps in a few decades, someone will tell its origin with amazement, wondering how it was possible not to see it coming. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And remember, fashion fades, style remains. Coco Chanel.